I posted the link in the comments if anybody wants to join. Right now I'm just kind of talking to myself, which is lame, and it's weird because I can't see myself while I talk about it. It's really weird. I don't even know if my audio is synced. I have no idea. Oh, Jeff says hi. Hi, Jeff. Somebody come and talk to me. Just click the link below to join. Graydon Kramer wants to join. I don't know who that is. Tell me your life is a secret without telling me your life is a secret. Graydon Kramer, join the room. What's up, man?
Not much, George. How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, really good.
What can I do for you?
Just came to hang on the fun day. Saw your post earlier about systems, and just wondered who was going to show up to chat today.
Yeah, I've Bradley was supposed to be here. I don't know if he's seen that post or not yet. So I don't know. We weren't really prepared to talk about that, but we'll totally talk about it.
We don't have to. Did you have a topic for today already?
No, we had no topic.
Okay.
Like, these things are way just fly by the seat of your pants and hope something cool happens.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love watching them.
Yeah. No, the system seems legit, right? There should be one. Treasure hunts have to have a system, or it's all willy-nilly and whatever. So there's got to be something there. But
I liked how you framed that too. For if people have alternative views, it's why not look at it as a system as well? That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I mean, how, like, if you have, so the way we know most of the stuff that we know is true is because it's self-referential, or it works across a broad spectrum. And how are you to know if your back of the book ideas work unless they work across a broad spectrum, or there's some sort of system, unless it's reproducible, you know?
Yeah, and if you're just looking at one clue, there's a million possibilities. So
yeah,
you can't just focus on one little clue and know that it's correct in any sort of way unless it's backed up by a lot of other stuff as well.
Yeah, and the bad thing about the back of the book is it's so broad that if you're just looking for little specific things without a system, you can probably find them. And a lot of people have. Like, that's the bad thing about the people who look at the back of the book for solutions. The bad thing about them not getting together is that all their ideas are just, all over the place. And if you take each one on its own, they can sound plausible, but without them being reproducible, since there are hundreds of people looking at this, nobody can come up with the same ideas. They can't really be true, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, even the clues in the verses are like that, well alone the back of the book. You could take a clue in the verse and interpret it 100 different ways also. So
that's true. That's true.
When you go to the back of the book, it's just a whole other level. Like, not saying that there aren't potentially things, but you're just on a whole other level of potential wild goose chases too.
Exactly. But even with, so yes, the verses are kind of like that, but there's at least a system that puts them into a type of framework that you can work from, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just mean if you look at an individual clue in a verse.
Yeah. The way all of that works is it's like the way I don't know. Anyway, I just hope, I wish people could come together more to do that. I fear they won't, but I wish they could.
Yeah, well, it might happen. It'll be interesting to see how things progress.
Yeah.
I love the idea of talking about systems. Just, I've never been able to really stick to one city. I've always I guess I'm not really close to any of the cities, but I enjoy looking at the whole a lot more than any. I've looked at them all individually a lot too, but I always just go back to how does the big picture work?
Someone is knocking on my door. Well, there's a downfall to only looking at one city, I think, and I think it's sort of the same as the back of the book people. When you don't look at everything, when you don't look across the whole spectrum, you can get lost in weird rabbit holes that don't exist anywhere else, if that makes sense, right? When you look at all the puzzles, you start to notice similarities and you start to notice patterns, and you can apply that to your specific city, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I think some types of people are also just drawn more to. Some people just want to find a cask and that's all they care about, and then there are others that are there for the process, the hunt, the whole idea of the puzzle, which
I completely
interests me a whole lot more than just finding one.
Yeah. But I mean, it's something that's going to hold people back if they're just like, if you just focus on, like, take the Roanoke verse and painting, you just focus on that and without looking at anything else, it's really easy to get into some weird rabbit hole where you end up in Kansas or, whatever, or, like going from point to point to point to point to point before you finally get to some weird, 6 degrees of separation tangent. It's just real easy to fall into those traps unless you understand the puzzle as a whole.
Yeah. I think the Roanoke verse is one of the clearest verses out of all of them in some ways.
I mean, it seems very descriptive.
Yeah.
And the things that have been found, like the July and August, that's pretty hardcore Roanoke Island. Anything July and August with Virginia there, you can't really put it anywhere else. So yeah, it's really clear until it's not. It just falls apart towards the end. It's like we completely understand the path, and then it just falls apart.
Yeah,
which is odd.
Yeah. I mean, the Watergate to me seems so perfect, yet it seems pretty clearly that it's not there, or if it was, it's gone.
Yeah, a lot of people like the Watergate, and I don't blame them at all. So,
I was looking at that line yesterday, and I kind of thought, I'm sure this is not my original idea, but just taking the line at last scene or first touched or last scene.
Last touch, first scene standing, yeah.
Yeah, so that if you're looking out to the water, if you're heading out to sea, the gate would be last touched. But if you were coming in from the water, it would be the first scene standing. The gate is the way out or the way in.
Yeah.
I'd never thought about it that way before, but yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Back in the day, that was what... So most people back before the big blow up of The Secret had two real ideas. They had the Watergate because of what you just said. It was the last thing you touched when you're leaving the park. The first thing you see as you were coming in from the water. Or they thought about the bench at the overlook because, what would they say? Once you stand up, the bench would be the last thing you touched, and before you sit down, it would be the first thing you see. Like it's not as good as the gate, but those were the two biggest explanations back in the day.
Well, the first one that I subscribed to was the Crotoan tree, because that makes so much sense with the history of it, of the last scene.
It sucks. That's not even there anymore. They took it down.
Yeah, I know.
Like, it's completely gone now. It used to be on like a wooden platform, but now, I guess because they said they didn't do any maintenance during COVID times, so like things just kind of fell into disrepair. So they were just taking a lot of crap down, and I think so many diggers caused problems over there. They're probably going to move it. But yeah, that whole thing's just gone.
So how many of them do you think are gone, unfindable? If you had to just guess a number. Of the 9 left, what do you think? How many of them are actually still in the ground somewhere to find?
I'd say, like, I don't know. It's tricky. I think people use the whole, like, if this is just gone because of damage or whatever, as an excuse when their ideas don't work. In some ways, I think Roanoke might not be there anymore, but the rest of them, I don't know. I think they're all there. Like, Bradley's coming in. Construction on the ground, like, it doesn't go very deep. And some of these casks might not be very deep, but I don't know. It's a small thing in a big area, right? And the chances of construction destroying it is kind of small. So I think there are more remaining than we think, but probably not all of them.
Yeah, Boston's just such a scary reality.
Yeah, that's true. What do you think, Bradley? How many do you think are still around?
They're all gone. Hey, what's going on, guys? I think
Bradley.
the majority of them are still around. I think San Francisco has a high chance of it being bye-byed. But
San Francisco?
And Roanoke, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. With the amount of reconstruction they've done, so I'm with a lot of people with Aquatic Park, and with the amount of just completely redoing Aquatic Park.
Okay.
I think it's gone.
I thought you were going to say Union Square.
Oh yeah, Union Square too, man. That whole thing's concrete now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like if John and Chris and Phil's ideas are correct, and it was in Union Square, it's bye. Like that thing dug up, all concrete.
With St. Augustine and the the pavilion being built over the old theater. But the majority of them, I think, are out there somewhere. Yeah.
So would you want to know if you could know? I think I've seen you post before, George, that it would kind of ruin it for you. But
No.
I've always had the idea, like, if you could just get, like, Montreal, for example, if you could get Sean to, you just kind of say
it was gone.
Well, just like, yeah, next time you're there, take a little peek. Like, would you be able to tell the community?
I don't think
guys, like,
that takes away from the fun of it. I think.
I don't think I would want to know. Well, here's why. Going back to what we were talking before about systems, right? You never know what little thing is going to cause sort of an explosion in this hunt, right? So you never know what one little clue that you break is going to be like the butterfly effect and just break clues across the whole puzzle, right? So if you take one of these puzzles out, you take away that opportunity to find some new piece of information. I think even if the cask isn't there for one of these, the puzzle still deserves to be solved, and the puzzle as a whole would be harmed if we just took one of them out.
How can you solve it?
That's a good question.
I'm from the side of things that, like, the solve is everyone. There's a lot of these people in the Facebook group now who are just, it's not a solve unless you have a cask. You got a cask, that's a solve. And that's not a solve.
That's
you
not
have the cask, but it's the puzzle. You haven't solved the puzzle. But if it's gone, how could you ever? Like, if Boston wasn't found that day, we could look for the next 50 years. And because even now, people can't agree on the solve, even where it was found.
It depends. It depends on whether this is a good puzzle or a bad puzzle. If it's a good puzzle, ultimately we should know, right? Like, there are a lot of old puzzles like our friend Chris likes to work on the Golden Apple Tail. It's a puzzle from the 80s. The treasure is long gone. Nobody knows anything about it, but ultimately you should still be able to solve that puzzle, right? The formula, you should be able to figure out the formula and then solve it even without the treasure, right? And I feel like if the secret is a good puzzle, ultimately you'll be able to figure out how it's supposed to work, and once you figure out how it's supposed to work, you'll be able to solve it without a cask.
So are you that clear on Boston then? You find, even though we know where it is, you feel like you are that strong on the solve?
I am 100% on what I think the solve is up until you get to home plate, and home plate kind of screws me up because I don't know exactly where the cask was found. I don't know how to say. I don't know the end, right? And I also don't know if anything in that park was changed. I don't know if home plate was moved. I don't know anything. You know what I'm saying? I think I'm pretty solid in 5 steps from home plate. That makes the most sense to me. But it only looking at the survey that was done, that only makes sense if home plate was moved.
Yeah,
at some point in time, because even John Palancar said that the cask was pretty much right next to home plate, and I don't know I can't tell from the verse which side of home plate exactly, how far from home. I can't tell any of these things, right? So,
and that takes
I feel like. Sorry, Bradley.
No, go ahead.
I feel like the solve system to me, I've got to the point now where I think that it looks to me like there is like a key area in each verse that is your dig spot.
Yeah, that's the way it seems.
So like there's like 2 lines or 3 lines, and if you look at all 12 verses, you can find in all of them like the spot where it seems to scream, this is the dig spot.
Yeah.
And with Boston though, like the 5 steps is nowhere near those key lines in the verse. Like 5 steps is nowhere near feel at home.
Yeah.
So if you have to suddenly start now combining different areas of the verse together to be the dig spot.
Yeah.
I don't know. That blows my theory out of the water. I feel like 5 steps is something else. But
so to comment on what we're first talking about there is with all the puzzles so far, they're bad puzzle making in the sense that there is not an exact X marks a spot. I mean, let's look at Chicago, for example, right? They knew where it was, but pinpointing it was not made easy by the puzzle. The puzzle was not specific enough to pinpoint where it was. If you look at Cleveland, we still don't know why it's reversed. There's some theories out there, but nobody knows for certain why it was on the wrong side of the planner compared to how the verse goes. You look at Boston. Okay, 5 steps from home plate. I think we all pretty much agree with that. But 5 steps in, I guess, north of home plate, if you go by that line. But the puzzles aren't built in a good enough way to give you a specific X, at least not the way we figured them out so far. There may be something we're missing. Who knows? To follow up with what we were just saying, Cleveland, not Cleveland, but Boston, in my opinion, is very different from Chicago and Cleveland. Chicago's, especially, you travel not very far, but you travel a distance to get to the dig spot. Cleveland, you travel a much shorter distance, but you still go from point A, walk up point B to get to point C and dig. Boston, you're there the whole time. You're not traveling anything but those 5 steps. In my opinion, the way the puzzle is written, it's describing where you're standing the entire time, and you just take the 5 steps and dig. You're not traveling across any distance whatsoever. So that's
yeah. I don't think that the verse is a path at all.
No,
really.
It's not.
But for any,
in my opinion,
I don't read it that way. I feel like the whole rest of the verse and the image are all contextual things to get you to the dig area.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a key line in the verse that's the spot. And for me, I think Byron just grossly overestimated how easy it would be to dig out a little box. Like, I think he intended with 10 by 13 and the fence fixture to give you like a dig spot. It might have been too big to like hit it the first time. And I think with Cleveland, maybe you're viewing the wall from the front when you come through the columns, and that's actually like that side, the opposite side, whatever. I think he gave you in those lines like a dig spot. With Boston, I think feel at home, that's your dig spot, like the home plate. I just don't know if the 5 steps are involved, then it brings a whole other element into this, because now you're having to tie together the lines from different areas of the verse to give you like your X marks the spot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think the only thing George and I disagree on is the Coliseum line. I think everything else we agree on.
The metal walls?
Yes. We're not going to get back into it. We get into it every time, but we disagree on
the hockey rink?
No, I think it's the baseball field. I think it's the metal fence around it. And George strongly disagrees, and he does that every time we have this discussion.
He thinks it's Ironsides?
He thinks it's
Ironsides.
Yeah. Maybe it's both. Maybe
Who knows?
It's double meaning.
Who knows?
Oh, God.
I think the hockey rink down the block makes more sense than the ball field for me. But I also think that metal walls is just too much of a great double meaning for Ironsides, especially with how much of a history buff Byron was. So,
I was wondering about something. I was driving home today, and I was thinking about, somebody said something on Facebook that made me think about the Boston EU episode, specifically where John was like, you can see Boston spelled out in the painting. I was wondering if he was confused, because he also said, and there was something about the semaphore flags, but I can't remember what it was. But if you look at the semaphore flags and you match them to their letters, that spells out Boston, if I'm not mistaken. I'm like 99% sure it does.
I couldn't find the whole. I looked at that. I couldn't find the whole word. I could find some of the letters from Boston, but I couldn't make the whole spelling out of them.
I thought somebody said that they were just made up. They're not even real semaphore flags. They're just little semaphore flags.
A couple of them are close, and then some of them aren't at all.
Yeah. It's like the ones that are letters. They're close, but they're not exact.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're close enough for you to go, oh, this is probably this.
But the things he pointed out did spell Boston. There was no question about that.
Yeah, but in a really lame way. Like, I'm almost disappointed in him for that.
Pops is even worse.
Boston Pops was the
that
worst.
Was dumb. Yes.
But if you think that, like, the image and all the rest of the verses are just contextual, they're just like to get you in a city, to give you some kind of affirmations along the way that you're maybe on the right place, and then the X marks the spot is just like the key line, then those things, they're like, if you find them, great. If you don't, it's not going to affect your ability to actually find the cask. But yeah, pops for me. Whatever, in a million years, how would that ever help you find?
I am now in like a weird rabbit hole. While you guys talk, I have to find. Oh, signal flags. That's what they are.
Yeah,
I think
sigil
is a marine signal flags. Okay, let's see. Where's B?
There's an N for sure.
B. That's probably wrong. I don't know. I'm
also
looking.
Some of them in the original version, I don't even know if you could have made them out clear enough. Like as they go down the line, they get
they get dark
in the image. You might not even be able to make that out.
I honestly have to use the reconstructed image for this, just to be able to tell what I'm looking at. Because like B is just red. Okay, so we can't do that. We can't do just red. B-O is just yellow. No, O is that, yeah. B-O-S is the square inside of a square, yeah. T, 3 lines. Nope, okay, I was wrong.
But I mean, he painted the area code in there. Why talk about Boston Pops when it's like, oh yeah, there's where I painted the backwards area code for the north end of Boston.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
He's just quirky too. He's hard to read sometimes.
That is not a B. I don't care what anybody says. That globe is not a B, and he is disappointing. Anyway.
Boston's hard to take in a lot of ways, that's for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, Bradley, did you read the post about a system to the back of the book?
No, I did not. Who wrote it?
I did.
Okay, nope.
It looked like I was yelling. Like I was wondering if people were going to take it as like George is yelling at all of us, but I wasn't trying to.
George is always yelling at me, so anytime he's talking, it's just normal.
That's true.
I have to say though, George, I do appreciate your efforts to like.
Anytime.
Whoa. Oh, okay. Wow.
That was my fault.
Oh, you hit the link and press play. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, I wanted to be able to read the comments.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I was just going to say that I appreciate in your efforts to try and build a big community, you do tend to try and back up both sides, whereas the people in the community tend to subscribe to one side and want to battle at it. Yeah. So I appreciate that you put those things out there to try and keep everyone engaged. And
yeah, it's difficult because like I want a free forum where everybody can post their ideas, but I also want to I want to solve a puzzle, right? So it's difficult to have my own opinion and disagree with people, but still like, because people always take it like you're trying to squash ideas when I'm not. I just disagree with you. You can still post whatever you want. It's just difficult because people get mad at me and then they're like, you disagree with my ideas and you're trying to quiet my voice. Whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just a weird position to be in.
Very weird. Very weird.
Yeah. So anyway, do you have any quirky ideas? What's your quirkiest idea?
I don't have quirky ideas. I feel like the puzzle is very straight ahead. Yeah. And I feel like when everyone always says, well, it hasn't been solved in 40 years, so it's got to be harder, weirder. I just think time has lost those things.
Yeah.
Construction, things gone, not the best puzzle making necessarily. In some ways, there's elements of this puzzle that are really, really good, but I think there's just a couple things like his overestimating how easy it is to actually dig out the box, and then some of the clues that maybe are, who knows. But no, I don't really have quirky ideas.
All right.
With this puzzle, I don't think they're needed.
Do you think the biggest hindrance to this is time, or do you think it's something else?
Yeah.
Do you think it's just time?
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris Preacher actually made a post a while ago that I loved about, he kind of wrote out in long form about how he thought what needs to happen to actually solve these. Yeah. And it goes along those lines of getting groups of people to actually really invest their time and their money for a common goal to like find footage and pictures from 1980 in all of these areas. And I think that just speaks to how some of these puzzles are probably unsolvable in current day. And he really spoke to like, let's like dig down, spend the money, put the effort in to get the resources from that time to make them solvable. I tend to agree with that. I think some of them are probably just so different now that you can't find them in 2021. Chris.
Hello.
All right.
What's going on, man? Where's the guitar?
I'm downstairs today.
You're not allowed to be streaming if you don't have a guitar behind you. I'm sorry.
Shit. Well, I've got like a weird ornate mirror.
That'll work.
I wanted to, well, two things: balance the Canada to USA people in the
Go
chat
Canada!
here, but also I've got like a really quirky idea. So if y'all are talking about quirky ideas, I'm full of them. Anyone want to go through some like weird stuff with me?
Let's do it.
All right, so y'all know verse 10 for New York. Have you ever noticed how many times the word of appears in that verse?
Yeah.
I count 11. If you include like acrostics and everything, like the word of so many times. Why? Why would he do that? And today I think maybe I came up with a reason. I don't know if this is a good reason or not, but if you roll into page 23 of the front of the book, I mean, I'm a front of the book guy, right? So there's a quote here where it says, it's talking about
my computer. I'll be right back.
Leshy and Vili, the two of the Russian fairies, right? And it says, Leshy and Vili from the forest of Muscovy instructed the Mohicans, capitalized and italicized, in woodcraft, teaching them to move silently and invisibly through the trees, a skill which learned authorities, the Mohicans possessed to the last. And then last is also capitalized. So we have the Mohicans capitalized, and we have the last also capitalized. So that tells me, why would you have, well, Mohicans would be capitalized because they're a proper noun, but last, as a word unto itself, wouldn't be capitalized unless perhaps it's a book title. So we've got, obviously y'all probably know the last of the Mohicans. So we have the Mohicans and the last, but there's no of. The word of isn't in that sentence. Russian fairies, the Mohicans, missing word of, verse 10 with like 11 ofs in it, which is just saying like, I'm an of, and then you tie that to the litany, and there you go. You've paired verse 10 to painting 12 through all that stuff. And that's my Sunday quirky idea.
Well, that's definitely interesting. So as soon as you said that, I pulled up the verse and I started counting. And I counted 4 ofs just in there, and then I found 2 if you just go straight top to bottom, looking for them in the lines. So I found 6 total.
I have a question real quick.
Yeah.
Like halfway through something, I lost audio. Can you guys hear me?
No.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, sorry. Continue. I'm going to enjoy watching this back later. Sorry, I couldn't hear a thing that was said.
Probably for the best.
No.
It's really interesting. It's really interesting. So which page was that on?
23.
Oh, we got to get our books now? Hang on.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm going to grab mine too. I'll be right back.
You mean you guys don't just like sit with it with you all the time? And I'm the only one?
Haven't memorized every page.
Chris Preacher's got one in his office, one in his bedroom, one in his car, and one in his bathroom.
I mean, that's the best place to have it.
Yes. So we're going to page 23. Okay. Let's just pull up the freaking website. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, most of the time.
That's easier.
That's what I'm doing, yeah.
Yeah. Plus, then you can search words easier.
Get a book out, then I'll spill coffee on it. That's my luck.
It's an $800 book. You got to be careful.
Yeah,
I just
don't use
pulled
the
out-
first edition.
I just pulled out the hardback. Like, did Bradley's still gone? So we're going to page 23. It's like Bradley coming back all out of breath. I I walked to
It was
Boston.
so far away.
I got my book.
Sorry. Let's see here. I'm just overall tired. I slept for like 2 hours last night. Let's see. All right, 23.
Is it like the end of the second paragraph? The important part being a skill which learned authorities, presumably James Fenimore Cooper, say the Mohicans possess to the last. And last is capitalized.
Oh, interesting.
A skill which learned authorities say the Mohicans. Yeah. Okay.
All right, so
Even without knowing what you said before, I've never noticed the last being capitalized, and now I'm intrigued. Because you know it's going to be essentially the last of the Mohicans.
of course. But then what I was saying was there's no of in that sentence. You have the last capitalized and the Mohicans.
But there's a shitload of them in the verse.
Yeah.
Like in of, like its own line, almost.
Yeah. So it's like in the shadow of the great giant. And then it's
Of the V.
Speaks of Indy's native, of him, of hard word, of the V. And then if you look acrostics, there's like of find, and then there's or more from. And then Isle of B, yeah, I freaking missed that one too. Like,
Yeah.
And then there's an often, which I mean, if you want to, that probably doesn't count, but
I think you have enough ofs already.
there's a ton of ofs in there. So like, why? When I see this stuff, and I'm just like, why would he do that? He either is like doing these kinds of things on purpose to try to get your attention, or he just is not a good writer, right? Like,
well, it's like John had this idea with Milwaukee too, right? John Hardapine, not John Michaels, where it was like 3 foot distance was repeated multiple times in that verse, and it's like, why repeat 3, or was it 6 foot distance?
It's 3. It's like 3 foot distance and pass are all repeated in that verse.
John Michaels had that pass idea too, because pass is in there a couple of times.
The juggling,
to switch the
where he would juggle, he would go back around, Yeah,
as a book publisher, like some of the writing and the typos are not typos.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that it would just be bad writing and typos when the guy is a book publisher. He's obviously well read, and
I mean, I've seen some really bad typos in his books. It's like talking about Gray in Dragon World, where he uses A in one sentence and E in another, but he's talking about the exact same thing in the exact same way. But given this is a puzzle book, you got to focus on it.
And I could be very wrong, but I think there's a distinct difference between a publisher and an editor. Editor, he was not.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not.
He was listed as the editor, wasn't he?
And also,
in most of his books, he's publisher.
Yeah, developed and edited by Byron Price.
Yes, that's this.
So he was the editor. Yeah, so this. Yeah. I don't know if he was the editor in Dragon World. That's a good point.
But a typo is maybe possible in the back of the book, but a typo in one of his verses that's the clues to the hunt is
highly unlikely.
Quite unlikely. Yeah.
Right.
Well, if you want to keep going down quirky ideas, I'll tell you there's exactly 12 typos in the front half of the book.
I'm not even going to doubt you.
I know.
Oh,
if you want to go down that road, we can. But
I don't mind. I don't mind, but I'm just not looking forward to all the posts tomorrow from other people with offshoot crazy ideas because of it. So,
Chris, I have to ask, since we're just sitting here talking about New York and I'm staring at the verse, what are your thoughts of the length of this verse and the length of specific lines? Like in this, nearby is its own line, or more is its own line. Like these are things which, judging from the rest of the book, these should not be their own lines. To me, they seem forced for a reason, and I'm curious what your opinion is.
I agree. Part of it, I think, is to set up some of these weird of things. But one thing that stands out to me, and I have no basis in fact for this, but New York, if it's a bookend or whatever, it's where Byron was from. It seems like this is his magnum opus. And if you read the verse, you'll notice there are a lot of things that are similar in other verses. You've got these like ors used in verse 6 and verse 11 that he uses in verse 10. He uses the letters representing proper nouns in verse 12. The only other one he does that is in verse 10. And if you like look through and you see verse 10 kind of seems like whatever clues we're trying to figure out in these other verses, it's possible verse 10 has one of all of them.
All right.
So I imagine the strangeness of some of the lines are to represent different kinds of puzzle clue things.
So the only
some of them too.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry. I think for some of them too, it's just to make you guess whether that part line like associates with the line above it or below it. Because a lot of these verses, it's hard to tell which part of the clue it belongs to. So when you split up the words like that, it just makes it a little more challenging to know.
Yeah, is the sign nearby or like?
Well, nearby. Yeah. I'm not sure about, but.
Well, like does it read although the sign nearby or nearby speaks of Indies natives, or is the sign speaking of Indies natives or something nearby the sign speaking of Indies natives, or does it not matter at all? Is it none of those two things?
And that's kind of what you alluded to in the hints in the Chinese the Japanese edition.
Exactly, yeah.
In the Japanese edition, he hinted that part of the fun of the puzzle is he wrote it so you don't know where it breaks and what goes with what. Andrew in the comments says that he did a quick search on the verses, and the word of appears a total of 36 times. It appears the most in verse 10, which has 7, and verse 5 and 6 are next in line with 5 each. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, if you include the acrostics, we've got at least 9. There's even an upside down.
Yeah, there is.
Go that road. And we've got 10.
Wait, I'm missing something. Did we get an upside down acrostic? Where, or did I miss part of the conversation?
It's
okay. I see. Oh, yeah. So from the middle of one branch of the V. Yeah. I got you. I understand.
Yeah. Well, that's
I really struggle with the acrostics in a lot of ways, but then you look and there's some things that are so obvious you can't refute them. I don't want to believe them, but it's hard to refute them at the same time. It so clearly seems like he's intentionally playing with those, but how they're helpful, who knows?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Saloy's pretty damn helpful if you agree with St. Augustine.
That's the exception, yeah.
That's how Italian Fenway. I mean, it's really the only ball field out there, isn't it? No, you don't agree.
I still don't know if I even believe that one. I'm not
okay. Sure. Like, what's every acrostic? The number of options for any number of letters is the factorial of that number. So, how many lines are in the Boston verse? 16, 20. We're looking at like 12 million different combinations of letters, like presuming you can only use one letter one time.
Yeah.
That is if you're not using every damn letter, I don't buy it.
We got leftover letters.
We got to throw out Saloy.
No leftovers.
I mean, Saloy, I guess, because
but
it's in
Saloy
order.
Is together. Yeah, it's in order. Italian Fenway, if every line in the Boston verse perfectly gave Italian Fenway, then I would have no doubt. But the fact that there's 5 letters that aren't used, I'm kind of with Chris on that one.
It's an acrostic and an anagram. Like, that's the difference, right? Like, Saloy is an acrostic. Italian Fenway is an acrostic anagram.
Yeah. But what you have to ask yourself is, would this matter to Byron? Like, is that something Byron would have thought, Or would he just think, I'll just hide this word in here and jumble it up a little bit, and that'll make it trickier?
It's possible, but can you go in there and rejumble those words and find something that says a different city or a different group? Like, maybe, I don't know it off the top of my head, but that would be.
There was one
counter to that.
I remember like years ago, somebody posted this weird acrostic and we rearranged it to like hot girls on White Snake's limo. I remember that was fun.
Oh, she just passed away too.
Who?
from the Whitesnake, the girl from the Whitesnake video.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're old enough to remember that.
I do remember. I was thinking of, like, as soon as I was about to be like, "Are you thinking of the Cherry Pie Girl?" But no, that was a Whitesnake Girl video. Okay.
Yeah, on the hood. Oh,
Yeah. So anyway, so what else? We don't ever have Chris on here, so this is special.
Yeah. Just to quickly cycle back to what I said earlier, I will say, even though I believe there is, and I was talking with Chris about this yesterday or whatever, but if there is a key line that is the dig spot, New York does seem to me the one that's the hardest to identify. The other 11 for me are like, there's a couple lines that scream, like, here's your dig spot. New York is the verse that's for me the hardest to.
Well, I don't know. Even before, like, Boston's only obvious in hindsight, I think. Before Boston, we didn't think Feel at Home was the dig spot. We thought it was like Mother's Rest or something else. So it's only obvious in hindsight.
But when you tie the plate in the image to it, it strengthens that as the key line.
So the New York one.
Otherwise, why is it there? Like, Feel at Home doesn't make any sense in that verse. Otherwise, why?
Well, it did when we were. It did when we were out at Charlesgate. That's the only thing. There? But when you say something's obvious, that's the first thing I think of. Like, it wasn't until it was found. It wasn't obvious. And I'm going back to look at the verse now to remember what we used to think that.
I just don't know how you associate that. Like, there's some things in the verses that you could argue what they're actually referencing. But for me, that line in that verse means absolutely nothing contextually. It only works as the key line for finding the cask. Like, everything else in there refers to clues or is giving you, like, Paul Revere context. But Feel at Home, like, it just sticks out like a sore thumb.
I want to say back before it was found, most people thought it was, when everybody was at Charlesgate, they thought it was lit by lamplight because they thought they were looking for one of the lamps right by the stairs. I want to say that's what everybody thought, or at least that's what I thought the dig spot indicator thing in the verse was until it was found. And I always associated Feel at Home with two things. There was a place called Mother's Rest right next to Charlesgate, and then there was a group of really, really famous billboards in Boston that said, if you lived here, you'd be home by now. And those were the two things that were associated with it.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about those.
Yeah. I don't know. But I think you're right in 99, but in the majority of these, it seems obvious what the dig spot is, but I think without knowing for sure, we fall into a trap of assuming, you know?
Yeah, I just think from a solving perspective, if you want to reverse engineer, like, if we just would agree that the image and all the other lines are contextual to just get you in the ballpark or to the area, but there has to be, like, in each verse, an actual dig spot. If we just said, okay, then, well, what seems like the most likely key searching lines in the verse, and then reverse engineer from there. So, like, let's assume that beneath what was last touch or first scene setting, let's assume that's the key line. So let's only look for solutions that could work with that. You know, if you were going to work it backwards.
I mean, if this is truly an armchair treasure hunt, we should be able to discern that in some way without being there.
Yeah, I mean, it's
debatable.
There's no way I think at this point it can be an armchair treasure hunt.
I don't know, man.
Because Chicago itself, I mean, how would you possibly at that time look up and know the 10 by 13 for the trees to find the dig spot?
That's a good
in
point.
Chicago.
Or even the fixture. Yeah, the fixture too. You would never know.
What he would take as an answer. Like if you said, well, it's behind, it's to the left behind a Lincoln near a fence. Would he have taken that or no? That because then.
But how would you have known that's the fence? How would you have known what he's talking about with fenced and fixture meant a literal fence and fixture? Unless there's something in here that we're missing that tells us these things, which I don't know. But
is it possible?
If anything in the back of this book is true, there has to be some form of armchair treasure hunt. Like I would say this part is true. he included a form you could fill out. So there is an answer that is acceptable that you should be able to discern from this book.
Well, there's two ways to look at that. You could either say, well, maybe he never even expected anyone to actually dig one up. He just expected to eventually get an answer that was correct and tell them. Or maybe he called it an armchair hunt because marketing reasons. He didn't want people who weren't in those cities to not buy the book. He'd just say, no, you can live in Tokyo and solve these, buy my book.
Yeah.
Even though you wouldn't stand a chance ever finding it.
Yeah.
Well, especially with Masquerade, right? Like that was supposed to be an armchair treasure hunt too, but it had a master riddle that you could have figured out without ever needing to be at the place.
Right. Or you could just
have a master riddle,
or you could just date his kid.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's what we should do. We should just, is Sandy single? We should just go out with Sandy. She's an attractive lady.
No.
So I wonder if you guys, because maybe I'm not, like, I'm pretty settled on what I think the key lines are in the other 11 verses. When you guys look at New York, if you just had to put your money on something and say which part of that verse is like the pinpoint key lines that tell you where the dig spot is, what would you say it is?
It's below whatever the V is, in my opinion. Because it's telling you, take twice as many east steps as the hour or more from the middle of the branch of the V. Look down.
So aren't you leaving the branch of the V and going 22 steps away from that?
Exactly, that's what I meant. Sorry. Yeah, exactly. So you're doing twice as many east steps of the hour or more from the middle of the V, middle of the one branch of the V, and look down, and boom, that's where you're supposed to dig, in my opinion.
See,
it's not the simple roots?
Yeah, that's like your indicator. Like whatever simple roots is supposed to be, that's where you're supposed to be putting your shovel.
I'm not sold on any of them that aren't referencing something in the image. Like if it's not the ones to me that I'm sold on are things like at the base of a tall tree, with the image being at the tree, with the image having a tree, with something that I can see in real life. The same as like Chicago's fence and fixture. I can be there. I can tell there's a line that tells me to dig somewhere right in there, and I can see those two things. The same with the planter box in Cleveland. Like, unless I can see what it's talking about in the image, I'm not sold that it's telling you to dig there.
But there's nothing specific enough in the Cleveland image to give you the exact spot.
Right, but I know I got to dig at this planter, right? There's nothing, specific enough in the Chicago image to where that gives you an exact spot, but I know I got to dig around this fence post.
I tend to think there is, but I don't know. I haven't researched that as much as someone, but I think that it's possible that the 10 by 13 rows kind of lined up with the fence fixture. And I know Rob and the other guys kind of disagree on where they think it was, and so we can't really know that for sure. But I tend to feel that Byron wrote that and drew that fixture in a way that he felt that it could give someone the spot.
Another point of argument with Chicago is what exactly is fixture? Is it the thing over the fence, or is it that box that was on the wall of the bridge? Because Chris Preacher found in the publicity photos that were taken for the interview for the newspaper, that box on the bridge was there.
Yeah, so they even said in the interview. They said in the interview that was the fixture they were looking for, and they said they dug that. Look, one of them was leaning up against it while they were digging right next to it. So if I'm going to trust any dig spot for Chicago, it's the one that they talk about in that interview, because it happened like 2 weeks after they found the cask, and they were talking about it being way over in the corner next to the fixture box.
So when you say something is central to something, do you spell it T-O or T-double-O?
T-O.
Yeah, because in the verse it's T-double-O. So it's like at 10 by 13 and central to,
also,
meaning
also,
central also.
Right.
Wasn't this the railroad, the Central something Railroad? Am I making that up?
But it says fence and fixture central to.
No, he's saying the railroad was it called the Central Line or the Central Railroad?
At the end of 10 by 13 is your clue. Fence and fixture, also central. Wasn't it the Central Railroad? I don't know what it was called. I could be making that up. I
have no clue about the name of the railroad.
Yeah.
Illinois Central Railroad, yeah. Illinois Central.
Okay. I never knew that. So there's that as well. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's what I always thought. It was fence, fixture, and the railroad.
I just wonder if Byron just thought, if someone can tell me that there's 10 trees one way and 13 the other, and then there's a fence fixture that matches in the image, and write that in, he would say, yeah, you've got it.
Yeah. But the sad thing is, we don't know.
Yeah. Whether it actually lined up perfectly enough to stick a shovel in the ground and hit it. Yeah. Who knows? But I still feel like there is that part in that verse that was intended to be the dig spot, whether it's effective or not,
right?
Or whether Byron grossly overestimated how easy it would be, or just thought, hey, you can. I mean, if he's sneaking into some of these parks in costumes to avoid being seen, I don't know how. Even though it was a different world 40 years ago, I don't know how he could think someone could dig a 6 foot by 6 foot, hole square in a park and not get into trouble. But
well, talking about Chicago, I mean, it's wild enough that they had an actual photograph of where it was dug, where it was buried, and still couldn't find it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I feel like Chris is disappointed in this conversation because you just keep going.
No, I'm good.
What other wacky ideas do you have, Chris?
Yeah. Or anybody? I'm not even keeping up with comments. Bradley, are you keeping up with the comments?
I'm half. Yeah,
my comments stopped working. I just this was kind of thrown together at the last minute. Me and Bradley both just got home, and neither one of us are prepared for anything.
Normally, I'm putting the kid to bed at this time, but got off that duty today, so
nice.
Yeah, same.
So, Chris, are you guys getting together to do anything new soon?
We've been talking about it. It's been hard to coordinate schedules and everything.
Didn't you guys set a timeline?
We always do.
No, I thought your two teams were working on the project for 2 weeks, and then we're going to get together and counter.
And then me and Bradley had the stuff that happened with Caroline's mom, and then we got this, and now we're planning the meetup, and it was like, oh, I haven't done anything. I'm hoping you guys haven't either. I just haven't had time.
And I can't get too invested in that. I just can't. It won't.
You want it to be a contest.
Yeah.
and you think iron sides or metal walls is the fence.
It is.
So, and we would lose that.
I know
contest.
it is.
It's both.
I remember I had
Simon asked for a link to the room. Simon Baldwin.
I don't know that anybody else can get in. I think we're full, but I'll post it. Anyway.
Hey, George.
Yes?
Your dig spot in Lafayette Square in New Orleans, how settled are you on the fact that it's not right and wasn't?
100%. Well, no, I'm not settled that it's not right. I'm settled that I did not find a cask. And the reason for that is because I took these little pieces that we all found, aside from one, which I gave to John. I took all the pieces and I compared them to Brian's cask, and while they looked the same, they didn't feel the same. So it definitely wasn't a cask. So I like looking back. I'm sorry. Can I? Looking back on it now, I think like I pushed that keep things stupid simple for so long that I got way too simple and I missed some obvious things. I do really like the Storyland stuff that's coming out a lot more than the Lafayette Square stuff. So now I'm completely in a different part of the city than I used to be.
But can you confirm for me? I always wondered,
sure.
Are there exactly 21 of those fence posts from end to end in that spot?
Yes, there are exactly 21.
Does that not seem just too perfect?
Just a lot of 21 sets of things, man. I don't know.
Everything else fits.
Yeah, everything else fits. In between those 22, now I don't know what was there in 1981, but now in between each of those are metal threaded rod that they use to attach actual fences now. But yeah, the little black fence posts that were cut off, and I have no idea when they were cut off. There's 21 of them. But also, like, if you walk down the street, there's 21 bushes and a planter, 21, there's a lot of stuff that, there's 21 planners on the moon, or were 21 planners on the moonwalk. Like, there's 21 of a lot of stuff.
But not 21 after every other piece of the verse and image can be connected to that area.
Well, except in the moonwalk. Because you can make the moonwalk work pretty well. Just about as well as Lafayette Square. So I don't know. I welcome, I would say you probably shouldn't dig there, but if you want, feel free. I'll help people with that solve, but I'm not sold on it anymore.
Andrew Colin says there's 21 posts from corner post to entrance post in Jackson Square.
There you go.
And gotcha. Yeah, and Ryan is saying, I think he's talking about it not being an armchair treasure hunt. He says Storyland looks good, but the middle of 21 is tough to find unless you're actually there to visit.
Yeah. But you have the jewel place, you have 15 stairs, you have the image match for the post on Gallier Hall that matches the clock. You have 3 standing watch on the top of the building.
Well, no, nothing is
names meeting.
So the weird thing about the top of the building, none of them are standing, and I don't think any of them are actually watching you. The only one that would be facing, like if you're taking that literally, the only one that's facing you is blind. Like, because it's
an expression.
Well,
yeah,
that's
stand watch. It doesn't say stand watching you.
That's true.
Of all the theories I've heard, I just kind of feel like that one is maybe the most solid, and I've always just wondered how confirmed was it that is definitely not the solve.
I loved it, but that is 100% not a cask. You got pieces. You can have them, though, if you want them.
Yeah, no,
I have no idea what it is.
I believe you that you didn't find it, but I just wonder if that's the solve. I wonder if it was there or
it's
still
odd
there.
Because there really was plexiglass there. Like we were honest. I've got pieces of it. The plexiglass, we compared to Brian's plexiglass, and Brian thinks it's the same. I think mine is like a hair thinner than his, like not enough to where you can look and notice the difference, but you can kind of, if you put them side by side, you can feel a little bit of a difference. But the makeup of whatever I've got is way different than Brian's. Mine's much heavier than his, and a little like about 1.5 feet, I think, about 1.5 feet. And then we hit, there's a big piece of plexi that I've got, and then a bunch of those little pieces. So, I mean, I'd still, like, if you think that's where it is, I guess it's possible. Yeah, have fun. But because what I got's not it.
New Orleans is tough. There's, like, a lot of what appears to be misdirection or sleight of hand or something in it. Like, that painting to me very clearly builds a case for Storyland, and then you throw in that guy from the Lafayette statue, the paper boy or whatever. Like,
yeah,
how do you? There's no way that's a city identifier. That's like leg eater territory. How do you balance these things? And then the other thing, the Narcissus is a daffodil. And that thing in the Cleveland painting doesn't look like any daffodil I've ever seen. So you just, I don't know. There's something weird going on there.
Well, you know about the talking flowers in Storyland, right?
Yeah,
that's the exact match to that flower. So could that just be? Man, I don't think anybody's going to go down the rabbit hole of figuring out which of these flowers. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter if the flower is the exact to the litany, as long as it's the exact to this.
Like, it's not necessarily a month indicator. It's more likely a dig.
There's 2 flowers there, and do they both match? I know that one matches. Do they both match? I
don't know. I've never looked into that.
I've only ever seen pictures of the one flower.
there's 2 flowers in the park, and they're across the park from each other. And I've only ever seen the yellow one, so I don't know. But I know that they're the talking flowers, where you talk into one and your friend at the other end can hear you, which I've always really liked for Sound of Friends.
Yeah.
But how do you reconcile that with the Japanese hint?
What is the Japanese hint? I don't remember.
It's like
it's something like you can
do a more simple phrase.
Yeah.
Or something.
Well, like I get. Let me go back and look, because it's something like you could fill a cup, or it could be. Fills the afternoon hours literally translates to Japanese, fill the afternoon hours, find things to do in the afternoon. But if you fix this to a more easy, direct expression, ?
Right? Like what would that be? I think about that one a lot because it drives me nuts, but it seems to imply that line is a riddle, which if we're talking about sort of, let's loop all the way back to the beginning. If we're talking about trying to like figure out what lines are the like key lines, it's tough to even know what line is a riddle and what is actually instructing you to do something if it's not specifically telling you movement. Like isolating movement is one thing that we can pretty confidently do. Take some steps, paces, whatever, walk,
ride the man,
right? Those are things we can isolate and say, okay, he's telling us to do something there. But I don't know, the Sound of Friends, if I'm supposed to make that a more direct expression, like,
I mean, but going back to what we were talking before, are they connected? Like, as the Sound of Friends is a different line from Fills the Afternoon Hours, are they 2 different things we're looking for?
That's a good point.
I don't know. Now I want to go back and look at the other verse, the Japanese clue, because I want to say that I remember the Japanese hint for being that being something like you could either fill a cup, or it could be another broader definition. And to me, that was always like, well, it fills, as in you can find things to do. Now I'm looking at Phil's translations, because those are the ones I use.
Yeah, that's
let's see, fallen to. Oh yeah, no. So that's the ones that I've got on 12 Treasures. Is fills the hours, find things to do in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Then my translation must have been you could fill a cup. Crap, I'm going to Phil's. I'm so used to clicking on Phil's thing.
Just making you guys do so much work.
No, it's the same. Okay, then I was just wrong. Which is, no. Yes, yeah. So I'm sorry, I've got Phil's and mine on here. So mine were fills the afternoon hours. You can fill a cup, but there is a more direct and simpler way to translate this description. And fills the afternoon hours literally translates to find things to do in the afternoon. But if you fix this to a more easy, direct expression, so we're going to have to get a third to clarify that, just to figure out which one's correct. All right. Shit.
So I'm just spitballing here, but I'm just reading through because I don't do a lot with the New Orleans verse. But if we're going with Storyland as an idea, and we're talking about 3 standing watch, and we're talking about building palaces to shelter, that ties into 3 Little Pigs pretty well. Just saying.
Yeah, but I don't know if the 3 Little Pigs were there. So we're planning a actual New Orleans podcast thing with a bunch of people who have been in Storyland for a lot longer than I have been. I think trying to get Stephen Poff and like Brandon and Brody and a couple of other people who will have better ideas. I've got a map of Story. So Storyland went through renovations in like 1982, and we don't know if it was before or after the book came out. We don't know exactly when it happened, but it's when they like tore a bunch of shit down, rebuilt a bunch of shit, and put a big fence around it and turned it into a paid park. We kind of assumed that when this was buried, it was a free park, and during that time, all of the exhibits were different. I don't think 3 Little Pigs were there then, though. I think the only thing that was a 3 was there was a bridge with 3 Billy Goats Gruff. But it's like all we have are weird marketing materials and like proposals for investors, so we're not real sure.
And that's the type of thing Chris Preacher was talking about. Like, if we don't somehow dig down and work together and fund to get solid information on things like that, some of these just might not be solvable.
Yeah, it's really weird when like it's just like the Japanese clues when it's 2 people with 2 separate information and it comes down to their word, and we should be able to work together to find the correct answer, if that makes sense, right? Like we should be able to figure out exactly what was there in 1982 without having to be like, well, so and so told me X. We should be able to find some material.
Yeah. Home video.
Okay, I'm gonna go into quirky idea territory again.
Okay.
Put your tinfoil hat on. So, you mentioned going down the rabbit hole, and like it's a phrase we say a lot. It comes up in the Facebook groups all the time. Everyone's always going down a rabbit hole, and that comes from Alice in Wonderland. The interesting thing about Narcissus being the flower is it's named for the Greek story of Narcissus, who saw his reflection in a pool of water or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it's a Greek. I already made the comment of the daffodil and Narcissus comparison, and now I'm taking the Narcissus flower to a Greek story. Maybe that's nothing, maybe that's something, but thinking about reflection made me think about Alice Through the Looking Glass, which is like a story, but it's also like an allegory about chess. And you've got this like checkered background with a knight in the background. So for me, there's definitely an Alice in Wonderland possible connection in there that sort of goes along with Storyland. I don't know enough about Storyland to know if there is or ever was an Alice in Wonderland thing there.
So funny story, funny little anecdote that I don't really talk about because I've only seen it once and I can't find it again. At some point, someone took a picture in Storyland of, the Queen of Hearts had guards, right? They were playing cards, and it was the 3 of Hearts was the guard, like a guard statue in Storyland of a card with a thing, and it was 3 of Hearts. I've only seen that picture once, and it was attributed to Storyland. It was black and white, and I have no idea when it was there.
Does that fit only 3 stand watch?
It could.
Good.
If you got a guard standing watch, and it's the 3 of Hearts.
Who knows? But like I said, don't take that as concrete because I don't know when that picture was taken. And I can only find one. I've only found one. And if I can find it on my hard drive, I'll post it. Maybe somebody else can tell me when it was there. Anyway. Do you have anything else? Chris looks like you. Did you look like you just want to yell at people? Go ahead.
No, I've got no shortage of like dumb stuff I can talk about. I'm trying to censor my swearing like so bad.
No, feel free. It's fine. Remember what my word on the podcast was.
Yeah, when it's my video, I don't have any problem. But
it's fine. It's almost 10 o'clock. There are no kids watching.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Which at some point, Bradley and I are going to have to leave because like. Bradley had a birthday party this weekend in North Carolina, and he invited me, and I drove 9 hours home, and I got home 30 minutes before.
Oh, happy belated birthday!
It's actually an early birthday party. Yeah, my birthday's not until end of next month.
Oh, okay. I thought we were going to be birthday buddies.
No,
mine's August 4th, so.
It's close.
Yeah,
we've got the same astrological sign.
Yeah.
Does that matter to either of you?
No.
No, I align with the Boston.
I'm just trying to be cool.
What am I? I'm a Peridot Gladiolus kind of guy.
I got. It sucks that Bradley's birthday's so far away because I got him a birthday card from the entire community, and it was the most perfect birthday card I've ever found for anyone. And now I can't share it for another month. But it's cool because I signed everybody's name to it, so it's from everybody.
All 10,000.
All 10,000 people. Yeah, that's it. But it was legit. It was the perfect birthday card. I can't believe I found it. And I found it the night before we were leaving. It was crazy. Anyway. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I'm going to go to bed.
I'm going to spend my evening sleepless looking up Storyland pictures.
Oh. Okay. I'll send you the maps.
Yeah, send me the maps too. I'll take the maps.
Well, they're so you could probably have them. Yeah, they're TJ's. I don't think TJ would have a problem with you guys having them. So I'll send that. But they're I gotta. So TJ is an old guy he's not an old guy. He's a young guy, but he's an older hunter who doesn't hunt much anymore, and he was mainly focused in Charleston and a little bit in New Orleans. And pre-Katrina, he went to New Orleans, got a bunch of information. And the podcast has got a Slack group, and he threw it all up there. And I've been trying for a while to get his permission to put it out, but he's just not really active, and pinning him down is difficult. So I'm trying to do that before the New Orleans podcast, just to get people, because we're going to be talking about a bunch of this stuff, and it's good for people to have visuals. So yeah, I'll shoot it out. It's fine. He won't care. But anyway,
you should just start a big crowd fund to find home video from 1981, 82 in these spots. Just have a big online campaign. Do you have home video from Storyland?
Yeah, like a full Skunkworks.
We'll pay you $500 for your home video. It's the only way we're going to do some of these things.
No, you don't pay them. You say you'll digitize it for free.
You digitize it for free.
Yeah. And then in the terms of service, we will retain a copy in perpetuity.
We will put it on our YouTube page for you.
This sounds like you've thought that idea out before, Chris.
No, I'm just a guy that thinks that way.
Dude, there are people who their whole mission in life is to record everything that comes on TV. And occasionally they'll die, and their family members will put on Craigslist, I got 30,000 VHS tapes. And I'm just, I'm praying for that to happen for somebody in St. Augustine, some dude who recorded the news, constantly in the 80s, just so I can go get all of it.
Hold on, I'm going to show you something.
Okay.
So
it's always scary when Bradley does this.
Yeah. Oh, it's heavy.
Now let's take off my shirt.
Can you guys see this?
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is a box of VHS tapes that somebody locally put up for free on Facebook Marketplace. And the reason I grabbed it is because everything was recorded off a TV channel in Chicago. And so I'm slowly going through them and seeing if I can find anything interviews and TV spots or anything.
I'm in there's this torrent site called My Spleen, which nobody's ever heard of, but it's legit people who take VHS collections like that and digitize them and put them online. So you'll find Thundercats 1987 with original commercials or whatever. Yeah, and I've got set up Palancar and Price as my alerts. It's never going to happen.
You're the only person ever who wants those for the commercials and not the actual shows themselves.
Yeah.
Well, I told the dude that I picked him up from that I digitize everything and give it to him on a USB drive whenever I was done.
Oh, Brett wants to pop in for a second. Let me send him a link. I don't know why he does, but he just asked if we were, and he said he wanted to pop in.
I don't think I've ever talked to Brett in person.
It's not fun. He yells a lot.
He's very angry and mean.
Yeah. He's probably coming in to tell us we did something wrong. I sent you the link. He's probably like, don't talk to Chris. He's the enemy. All right, let's see if he comes in.
Oh, yeah, we talked about SF a little bit earlier. Well, I guess you guys did. That's what caught my attention.
I'm curious about your comment,
everyone.
but I'm also worried that we're in the exact same spot, and I don't want you to say anything.
Yeah. I won't because I'm not. I'll probably be in SF in November, provided like borders are opened and I don't have to like quarantine for 14 days and stuff. Because like my work is out there, so I still travel back to San Francisco. Well, I lived there for like almost 5 years, but I didn't know about the secret then, which is really disappointing.
Yeah.
And so then I was going back every quarter and just like go to every park and try to like. But I think I'm getting really close to something, so
Nice.
I'll compare notes like offline, but I'm not ready to.
Yeah, that would be great. 'Cause if we are in basically the same spot, we've got a really big head start on some official talks. So that'll help. Yes, both of us out. A really big head start. So
And when he says we, I have no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah, Bradley has no idea. It won't let me in. Well, Brett, you're screwed.
Maybe another time, right?
Well, it's probably because of the room's full.
It's probably because that internet he has.
I can view. I can view and not join. Okay.
Brett, I'll dip out so you can join.
Yeah. Okay. Try.
Right.
Let's see.
Chris, Braden, it was awesome talking to you guys. Chris, I can't wait to see another episode of your guys' podcast. You guys, your show is awesome. I appreciate you guys doing it.
Yeah.
Adios.
See you, Bradley.
See you later.
Bye.
I bet. Yeah, I bet. Well, no, I bet this. Yeah, let me try Brett one more time, but it might be just because Facebook's weird.
So why not? We gotta get into the old Discord live channel, the like Discord video channels, right? You can get like.
I need to do that, and I gotta get because I gotta do. I put the reason. One of the reasons that I put Rachel in charge of all of our Patreon stuff, and I put in there that I wanted to do live chats for Patreon only, and I think I have something set up on Discord for that, and we really need to do that. I gotta get on the ball with all this. I guess way too much stuff.
Yeah, because I think you can do a private voice channel that you could like invite people who are part of your Patreon too, and then you could do just like.
Yeah, I know I've got Patreon only channels in there. I think. I'm not sure. I gotta look. I'm not good at this, man. And then got so much crap on my plate. I need to offload it. It's crazy. Yeah, I don't think Brett can get in. Oh well.
Another time.
All right. Yes. I'm gonna. I guess we'll head out. You and I will compare notes. Thank you, Graydon, for coming in and hanging out and starting up the conversation. And it was great. It was awesome.
Thanks so much for having me. I've been watching all these and hanging around for a couple of years here. It's great to finally meet face to face, and this was a lot of fun. Appreciate it, guys. Appreciate everything you guys are doing for the hunt and the community.
Feel free to come back anytime, either of you. Have a good night, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
See you, George. See you, Chris.